Greetings, St. Paul's, and blessings on this Thursday. When I woke up this morning and I looked outside our window, I saw the deep fog covering the trees. And it took me back. It took me back a few decades when I was a young man, a teenager, and was going to church camps on a regular basis. One of the main camps that we used in Costa Rica was called Istaru, and it was deep in the hills of Costa Rica, actually mountains, about 1,000 feet above ground. And it was regularly during the rainy season, when as soon as you got up there, you either found fog or deep rain, heavy rain. And it also reminded me of being at St. Dorothy's Rest here in the Diocese of California. I remember being there on a vestry retreat, and it was foggy and rainy, and you felt that all the rest of the world was sort of put away, locked away somewhere that you couldn't reach. So it allowed you for time to really focus on your journey, on your spirituality, and being in contact with those who were with you and with God. So in that sense of meditation, and because of the fact that all of this morning I spent it in several meetings, interviewing candidates for a position on one of the boards that I am a part of as a member of the Episcopal Church. And we asked the finalists, all of them, is there a book you would recommend for everyone to read? So I started to think to myself, is there a book that I would recommend for everyone to read? And two of them came to mind. And I have mentioned them in my sermons before, but I want to mention them again to you today. They're two small books. There's this one called Life of the Beloved by Henry Nouwen, that calls its reader to journey into understanding what it is and what we are called to live like as beloved children of God. I believe that as Christians, it is essential for us to understand what that means, to understand that God loves us, and that it is in that love that we are called to live each day of our lives. The other book is this one, and I have also mentioned it quite a bit, Forgive and Get Your Life Back by David Maynard. And if I were to summarize Maynard's thinking in my own words, I would say that it is that forgiveness is not about the person who offends, but rather the person who has been offended. Forgiveness is about repairing the breach that someone else caused in our lives. Because when someone offends against us, something breaks within us. And the process of forgiveness is about repairing that breach that is in our hearts, in our souls, in our beings. And significantly less about making the offender feel good. So these are my two books. And I must also say that one of the recommendations that was given by one of the people we're speaking to was the Odyssey. And it's so funny because my older child was reading the Odyssey last year as a 9th grader. And I have never read the Odyssey in my life because when I was in school, high school and university, I was doing that in Costa Rica in Spanish, and we read a series of other books, but the Odyssey was not one of the ones prescribed. So I'm actually gonna engage in the reading of the Odyssey. I don't know how long it's gonna take me, but I am going to start reading, not the Odyssey, but actually in that process, my older child recommended that I read the book that was written previous to the Odyssey, to which the Odyssey is a sequel. So I am going to start to read those two books, and hopefully, I don't know how long from now, I'll be able to come back and tell you what I have learned from the reading of those two books. So for now, Forgive and Get Your Life Back, Life of the Beloved are my two recommendations for you to read and for you to engage in your deeper understanding of who you are and how you're called to live as a Christian in your life. May God's grace be with you, St. Paul's, and may this day be one of blessing and of finding yourself in a closer walk with God.